Thank you very much, Carl, for that. Mike Singer is going to start off the discussion.
So, Carl, this is all fascinating, and obviously doing aqueous samples gives you a barometer to see if it works. The question is, with data that's there, in theory, could there be even modifications to go even longer based on what you found? And do you think this should be the way we should start making decisions? Because obviously the bar's gone up. We can go longer and longer. Should we be doing TAPS in our phase 1 and phase 2 to design our phase 3 to get longer duration and hopefully go further?
Right. So I think, as we move into bi-specific therapies, right, this idea of how complex these factors in the vitreous are. Now, there's the aqueous sampling has some caveats, but in general, they're pretty good correlates to vitreous samples. And so as we do these early trials, we can get a real good idea of what's happening to the vitreous milieu of proteins, especially in these cases where we're doing both Ang2 and VEGF inhibition. And I think it gives us, especially as we look at phase 3 data, some degree of certainty or at least support that as we see increased durability or perhaps increased efficacy, that it's reflected at some protein level in the eye. And I think that's something that I'm very excited about. And I think as we move into more and more co-therapies and bispecific therapies, it's going to become more and more important for us to understand these complex interactions between growth factors.
Can you talk a little bit about the FC portion in bispecifics versus these trap molecules with FC-like elements and how that influences your PK?
Right. So I think that's the other interesting aspect of faricimab is that it has an FC portion that's been mutated and it doesn't interact with the FcRn. And there's still some debate. We've shown some work that there is FcRn receptors in the eye and whether that could change the clearance. Clearance is not our friend, right? If we could get drugs to be more prolonged in the vitreous, we're going to have more activity. So I think it's a very intriguing aspect for us to be able to study what is the effect, both in terms of potentially the change in clearance, but also this interesting aspect that, as FC can have an inflammatory effect. And again, we've mutated that with faricimab, so we're going to see the effects as we go into the phase 3 trials.
So are there any plans to put a faricimab into the port delivery system? And how many patients did they go to 4 months?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing we need to find out if what's the effect of faricimab alone. But it's good that you're pushing the envelope there. And but I do think that let's first see what we get. This interesting aspect of vessel stability is a very intriguing aspect, and then whether or not suppression of Ang2 can then ultimately deliver us, stable vessels, which some people feel is a good thing in in AMD, that may be the ultimate outcome that we want in our patients.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Carl. I think you've actually foreshadowed to the next session as well, but I want to thank all of our excellent speakers and panelists for this session.